Uh, Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this fourth lecture of the Sri Lanka Natural History Society, the fourth lecture for 2025, titled Geotourism in Sri Lanka by Professor Pradeep, Nalaka, Ranasinghe. So geotourism is not something that we've heard much about. It's quite, I think, a new concept, and I'm sure it'll be extremely interesting and an eye-opener to all of us. Prof. Pradeep Ranasinghe is a professor at the School of Chemistry, Environmental and Geological Sciences, Lake Superior State University, Michigan, USA. He was formerly a professor at the University of Ruhuna and a geologist at the GSMB. And he has published a geotourism map of Sri Lanka with a booklet, which we hope he can show to us, and I hope it will be available for everyone. He was the president of the Young Zoologists Association of Sri Lanka and the founder of the Young Zoology Association of the University of Peradeniya. So without any further ado, we are all waiting to hear what he has to tell us about geotourism. Let me hand over to Professor Ranasinghe.
Shall I start? Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this. And thank you very much for the Sri Lanka Natural History Society president and all the office members. And also the participants. I am very happy. Dr. Vijayanand is here. He's the pioneer in geotourism in Sri Lanka. Because I am telling this because I implemented his concept. So he gave me the task to prepare the first geotourism map in Sri Lanka way back in 2002. I think that's fine. Yeah. So now it is 23 years. So I am again talking about geotourism in Sri Lanka. Actually, I gave a couple of lectures before also for the Tourist Guide Association and one at BMICH in 2017. But unfortunately, I don't know whether geotourism has gone forward in Sri Lanka for the last 23 years. We prepared the map. We tried to give a publicity and spread this concept. But we were doing it from the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau. After that, I went to PhD, and then I went to Ruhuna, and that concept didn't spread throughout the Sri Lanka. So therefore, still it is new, actually, to Sri Lanka. But when we talk about other countries, geotourism concept started in late 90s. And in most of the countries, we started geotourism before most of the countries. But other countries have gone far away now, but we are still there. So I hope that this will be an eye-opener again to incorporate this concept into our tourism industry. Okay? So let's look at this concept. So I am going to talk about under 4 topics. That is about geotourism, world geotourism, and geotourism map of Sri Lanka. That's what we prepared, and promoting geotourism in Sri Lanka, how we can do this. So actually, you all know about ecotourism because it is very well-established concept by now. And so that is mainly we are dealing with biotic environment, okay? Biotic component of the environment. So this is the definition of ecotourism by International Ecotourism Society. And geotourism concept was first introduced in 1995 And now in geotourism, we are mainly focused about the geological aspects of the tourist locations. And sometimes they can be purely geological, but sometimes, most of the times, they are not directly geological, but there is a geological interesting aspect. I will talk about that more later. So it was first defined by this Thomas Alfred. He is a British geologist, and in 1995, as I mentioned, Dr. Vijayananda asked me to prepare the first map in 2001. Okay, so you can imagine how we went with this concept, but after that, it didn't, nobody followed that. Okay, so if we look at the world geotourism, this is, you all know, the Yellowstone. So Yellowstone is the first national park in the world. So it is purely geological. It has bisons, it has other animals, but people go to see geology. And it was established in way back in 1872. At that time, there was no concept about geotourism, but it is mainly geothermal activities, hot springs, and you might have seen that. So if you look at these geysers, and so these are there. Okay, so this thermophilic bacteria mats, and so it is so beautiful. Last month also I visited that. So about 4 million visitors comes there annually. So I am going to compare geotourism, world geotourism, and our scenario. Okay, so the next famous one is obviously Grand Canyon. So that is the most visited geotourist place in the world. So there are about 4 to 6 million visitors annually. That is the highest visiting place, national park in the US. And so it is purely geology. It is erosion, tectonics, and so it has a lot big story. Okay, so this is Grand Canyon, and then Yosemite. So that is another geological, purely geological national park in the US. And so these are batholiths, and there's a tectonic story, and there's a purely geological story. Okay, so this is another one that is again Badlands. So it is beautiful, large, beautiful landscapes. Okay, so so after that, in the US, these concepts, they didn't start these things with the geotourism concept, but after these geotourism concepts was introduced, UNESCO started this Global Geopark Network, GGN. Okay, so actually, they in 2004, 17 European and 18 Chinese geoparks were introduced by UNESCO. And now they have 169 sites in 44 countries. These are geoparks. Okay, so in this 38th UNESCO session in 2015, 195 countries ratified this UNESCO Global Geoparks. I think we also should have signed this. I am not sure about it. But even we ratified, we have not done anything related to it. Okay. So now you can see these are UNESCO Global Geoparks. So most of them are in Europe, China, and these areas, Asian countries. Okay. And if you look at, but India, they don't have, they are different, own different concepts. So this is Guilin. I think you might have seen these things. So these are very nice, beautiful limestone landscapes because of the erosion of limestones. So this is one of their national geopark. And so they have 41 UNESCO global geoparks, China. And so that is, and they have 289 national geoparks and 41 UNESCO global geoparks. You know, we have Ramsar sites, okay, so for the wetlands, but we don't have these geoparks. And So then they had, this is another UNESCO geoparks in China. Okay, so these are beautiful landscapes because of erosion and so weathering and related that. And in India, they have their own system. They have National Geological Monuments. So they have all these National Geological Monuments, 45 National Geological Monuments. So if you go to Australia, so they have geotrails. So that is another concept. So geotrails are they are routes connecting a couple of geological interested locations. So this is by Geological Society of Australia. So they define it and they are managing it, actually. So so that is what they have done. So if you come to Sri Lanka, so this is our first geotourism map. So I have it here. I think this may be the only copy right now we are having. Even Geological Survey doesn't have anything. So this is my personal copy. This is the booklet we published, and this is the geotourism map we prepared in 2001. Okay, so this one has 201 geologically interested tourist locations. I will explain the concept we followed. Okay, and after that, actually, after I left the geological survey, so I volunteered to revise this one in 2014 or 15. So I revised it, but it was not published. It is still there. So I added different new locations and I removed some of them, and I added that geotrails. Geotrails I added in 2013. By that time, Australian Geological Society has not declared their geotrails, but we included our geotrails to our map. So, but it didn't happen. So actually now when we are, I will explain you about the geological history of Sri Lanka briefly. So you all know that we were together with Antarctica. Okay, so if you look at this small animation, you will see how Sri Lanka came to present location from Antarctica. This is a 200 million year journey. Okay, so most of the landscapes we have today has been developed since we broke up from Antarctica. So ours is 180 million years, and you can see we were together with Antarctica. This is Africa. So this is India. Okay, so Antarctica is here. So you can see what is happening. 170 million years. So we are gradually breaking up. So you can see Africa is breaking up. So this is India, and so this ocean is opening up here. 560 million years, and so you can see how this separation happens. Okay, so this is Madagascar, this is India, this is Antarctica, Australia is here, and so you can see Madagascar is separating. Now Sri Lanka is still with India, 150 million years, 30 million years, and now we are starting separation here. So you can see 140, 130, sorry, 130 million years. And see, now India is separating and drifting northward. And still we are together with India. Okay. So on this journey, we separated from actually India. Okay. So because of this, our landform evolves. So most of the mountains, most of the these escarpments we are having, Aputale and all these evolved after this separation from Antarctica. So you can see how now India is moving fast towards north. Now Himalaya is forming after that. Okay, so you can see Sri Lanka is separated now. It is moving, and this is what happened to us. Okay, so I will. So you can see Himalayan formation, and then we are here. Okay, so now if you look at Sri Lanka, so we have three distinctly different geological units. We call Vijayan complex, Vani complex, and Highland complex. Okay, so and rock types are different, and we have Miocene limestones in the northeast, northwestern area, Jaffna and Puntland, that area, and this area is all very old rocks. So their original rocks are about 2 billion years to 1 billion years, and they were metamorphosed. They are metamorphic rocks. All of them are, most except some igneous rocks, most of them are in here metamorphic rocks. And this is sedimentary limestones, and we have some sedimentary limestones and sandstones in here. Okay, so I will come to that later. So this is a general picture about the geology of Sri Lanka. This whole terrain, majority of rocks, about 90%, more than 90% here is metamorphic. Okay, so this is, but these three units are very different, and I'm not going to explain how it formed. It's a different story, but we have a nice distinct boundary between Vijayan complex and Highland complex. If you go to our hot water springs, and so they are mostly located along this boundary. Okay, so there are many other features we can identify, but that's so all these rocks have these nice patterns, and so they are metamorphic rocks. And so these are fossils bearing limestone. If you go to physiography of the country, so you know that we have defined, that is a very old concept, but still we are using it, peneplains. First peneplain, second peneplain, third peneplain, you might have heard, most of you. And there's another definition, coastal lowlands, uplands, and highlands. So these are three distinct morphological areas. Central highland is in highlands, third peneplain, and coastal areas are in first peneplain. Okay, so now these peneplains have developed. So there are very steep escarpments, especially in the southern sides. So they were developed after separation of Antarctica. Okay, so we call it escarpment retreat process. So erosion is very high along this boundary. Recent work using cosmogenic nuclides have found that erosion or denudation along the escarpment is very high. Okay, but in other areas it is very low. Okay, so gradually our land has eroded, and mountains have confined to the central part. So it is a gradual erosion process. Okay, so now we have these three peneplains of this category. Okay, and so when we are preparing this geotourism map, so we didn't confine ourselves to purely geological locations. Okay, so we categorize them into 6 categories. One is geological, purely geological. Second one is geomorphological. Third one is mineral deposits. Next one is geoarchaeological sites, and geotechnical and mineral-based industries. So I will explain a couple of examples from each of these. Okay. So here the main thing I have to emphasize is we try to bring this concept not only for foreign tourists actually. So we wanted to enlighten our local tourists and especially kids from the schools and universities and the general public. So we want to enlighten them about our geology. Okay, so that's why we didn't confine ourselves to geological aspects. I will explain that more later. And now, if you look at pure geological sites, and these sites are very important to get a idea about our geology. Okay, so I will show you one example. So that is this is Usangod. I think you all might have seen that, and so that is close to Ambalankote here. So this is at the coastline. So you can see this pink and yellow, light green color rocks exposed there. But if you go to the other whole area, that is a flat terrain, red color, no vegetation except some bushes. Okay, why is that? So there are so many stories about it, legends, Ravana's airport, and so many things. I don't know whether Ravana's airport was there or not, but this is pure geological. Why? Because this is located at our highland region boundary. So we have three, this is in this area, we have serpentine rock type. Okay. So we have three locations having four locations having serpentine. One is in Yudaganawa, that is in Waskamo National Park. You know that that is the place where the Elara, the Tugamuno battle happened. So in that area also there is no vegetation there. And there is another one, Guinigal Palace and the other one, there's Prof. So, so all four locations have this serpentine rock. So this has very high nickel and chromium. So that's why there are no vegetation. So that is the story about it. But if you look at the surface, I will show you another picture later. So you know that it's red color. That is because of iron. So this is a very nice story, geologically important, and we can promote purely geological based tourism here. Okay. So then Maha Palace. So that is one of the hot spring. I told you about this boundary. And there are many hot springs, Kinyai and Padiyatalav, and you know most of them. And actually, this was developed after our geotourism map was published. So this is the only thing happened after our geotourism map published, and we brought our geotourism concept. Actually, this was initiated by Southern Provincial Council, and so they made this, and so I prepared the booklet for them, and they are selling it, I think. So so this is they developed. So after our concept came, they came to know about it, and so this is another. We have a couple other locations as well, and so this is again geological because there are deep-seated fractures, and water go to the fractures to the deeper level, and then get heated and comes back, making hot springs. Okay, so different hot springs have different temperatures. This is like 44 degrees, and so that is another purely geological location. This is another wonderful place. I think most of you have not visited this one. I have been there for 5 or 6 times. So I am doing study about evolution of this beautiful landscape in Minyagalka. So that is in Yala National Park. So so it is a wonderful location. It has limestones. It has Miocene limestone, sandstones, and it has a tectonic story about uplifting of the land. This area was ancient bay. That is my hypothesis. And now it has uplifted because of tectonic activity. And so you can see ancient rivers that came here. There are many evidences of pebbles and everything. This is a geological laboratory. But unfortunately, there is no access. It is very difficult to go there. And that is another wonderful piece of land, geotourist location. And if you go to Namalvian, and we have this rose quartz. It's a quartz site. We have many quartz sites throughout the country, but this is unique because of the color. And this is because of impurities in the rose quartz. And this is another very interesting location in Trinco. You know, there is a deep canyon here. Couple of days ago, I visited this area at the request of Geological Survey because they have found very thick piles of shale kind of rocks in this area. And so Mahavali River is draining to the ocean here. So there is a deep canyon. And you can see this very nice, beautifully developed fractures, joints in the rocks. So this is very important because this is the highland region bound. Okay. So this area, the rocks, there are fractures, and so therefore erosion is very high. So you have a big, deep canyon, and that's why we have this natural harbor there. And it's very deep. Okay. So that is very important. So these are actually purely geological locations. And if you look at geomorphological locations, so people enjoy geomorphology. If you go to Haputale, if you go to Knuckles, and if you go to Horton Plains, we enjoy geomorphology. But nobody consider about how these landscapes develop through the time and why it is there. If you go to Sigiriya, you just enjoy the frescoes and the landscape and everything, the ruins and everything, but you don't know why it is there. Okay, so that is the part we can promote, add as a to the tourism industry. Okay, so this is I have picked a couple of locations. So this is Puragala. Okay, so when you climb to the top of the Puragala, so that is a beautiful place because when you look down, you can see the first peneplain, the flat first peneplain. So when you go to the Puragala, you are on the second peneplain, and there's escarpment between Puragala, and you can see there's a drop down here. You know that Samanlaya penstocks coming down, and so that is the. And when you look back to the north, you have this Haputale escarpment. Yes, you can see that. So that is the third peneplain. So you are at the middle of the peneplain, second peneplain, you have first peneplain, and that is a very nice place. But we all go there. We have to add that to our tourism industry story. And now we have a lot of waterfalls, and we all enjoy the waterfalls. But why we have waterfalls at this particular location? So that is another important thing. You know that you might have noticed that most of our very tall, very waterfalls are along the escarpment. From Haputale to, we have some of them along the Puragala, that Kaltara escarpment. Some of them are from Balangada to Haputale and Koslanda, Vellava, that area. And also in the Ravanayal area. So all are along the escarpment. So this escarpment development is very important for informing this waterfalls. So I'm not going to explain one by one, but there is a story behind that. So we can promote these kind of things as part of our tourism industry. So that is that will add another dimension. So that is why I want to highlight. Now, if you go to Horton Plains, you all have been there. Why it is flat? Why there is a thick layer of peat? Okay, so why this landscape there? So this is, if you look at these rocks, So these rocks are, most of our rocks are dipping, they are inclined like that, but on plains, if you look at that, so rocks have very low dip angle. So therefore it's a flat tabletop kind of location. So we have second highest and third highest mountain in the Horton Plains, Kirigalkotha and Totopalakanda. And so that is another important thing. There's an escarpment, how this whirlsand, how it is formed. Is it formed only by erosion of Kirikati oil, or is it something else? I believe strongly, because I have been studying this geomorphological evolution landscapes last couple of years. So I strongly believe that this, as I mentioned earlier, these escarpments have developed after we separated from Antarctica. But this kind of deep valleys, okay, Kirikati, that Burleson escarpment and the Alla escarpment, Alla gap. So they have developed, not when we calculate the erosional rates, there's something else. I believe that, I think that there's no way to prove this. This is just a hypothesis. And we were together with Antarctica. At that time, we had glaciers. This may be initial glacial valleys. Okay. So, and later they were widened and they became deeper by this erosion of the rivers. But there should be something else. So we are working on that. We are trying to do some work on that. So anyway, so the development of this wells and escarpment, and it is not just a escarpment. And people go and see that, but they don't know why it is formed there, why it is there. So these are very important things we have to. So other thing is we have knuckles. Okay. So knuckles is separated from central height. Why it is separated? It is because of the Mahavali River. Mahavali River is flowing along a fracture, making a deep valley. So that valley separating that our Victoria, Ranasinghe, those dams are along that deep fracture zone. So that separates Knuckles Mountains from Central Highlands. So therefore, some species have evolved through the time. So you know that there are unique biodiversity in Knuckles. Why? Because of this isolation. So why it is isolated? It is isolated because of the erosion. That is a geological process. Okay. So those are the things that makes interesting. And so there are some beautiful coastal landscapes in Sri Lanka, and this is a very nice dune field in here, Cape Point area. I think some of you might have visited there. It's when you are going from Punarine to Cape Point, you can see beautiful dunes. It is like Palutupana dune field, and so they are. Why we have this dune field here? Because of the sediment supply coming from India along the east coast of India. A lot of sediments are coming here, and we have sediments coming from south, and because of the monsoon, and these sediments are accumulating along this area, forming this beautiful dunes. Okay, so currents get weaker, and then sediments picked by sand and the winds, and they make this beautiful dune fields. And so this is another aspect of geomorphology. So we all enjoy geomorphology, beauty, but there's a geological aspect. And we have many mineral deposits, but there are some very unique ones. So we can use, and some of them are beautiful, some of them are economically important, and we can promote them as geotourism. Okay, so this is garnet sand in Ambalantota Kodava area. You might have seen that. So this whole area, so the beach is red color. This garnet sand has come from Walave River, and so that is there. And if you go to Kirinda, Paltupan area, same thing, and we have this red color dunes. So that garnet has come from Kirindiyole, and so that's why that is there. And then if you go to Ratnapura Basin, there are so many gem fields, and they are important economically. At the same time, there is a beautiful geological story behind their formation. And actually, I did some work using the sediments in this Ratnapura gem fields. And in one gem pit, we took a sediment core that is 47 meters. Still, we didn't find the bedrock. That it goes to 84,000 years, 80,000 years. That sediment is 8,000 years old. So I developed a climate record for last 8,000 years. Based on that, it was published in Nature Scientific Report last year. So there are fossils of different animals. You know that rhinoceros, Gawara, and hippopotamus, and so this area, the evolution of this Ratnapura Basin is a different story, and we have gems there. Gems have come from surrounding area, rock types, and so so that's another aspect of that. And so we have so couple of very large feldspar deposits and the calcite deposits in Matale and in Kaltod area. So those are some locations we can develop geotourism. And I will explain how we can do this later. So this is another thing. So geoarchaeological. So if you go to a Buddha statue, okay, so you get a feeling, and so that is religious. But as geologists, we can see something else. And now this is another example, that is Pahiyangala. So most of these caves, our prehistoric caves, so they are formed at escarpments, and they have formed by erosion, mainly by wind erosion. So some of them are very nice geological structures. And if you go to Pahiyangala, it is a nice fold. Okay, rocks have bended like that, and that fold has been eroded by the wind. Okay, so when the wind is blowing and these sand particles are bombarding or hitting, and gradually it is getting eroded, and over millions of years, and this nice cave has developed there. So if you go to Belilena, Palangada Kurvita, the Batdomalena, so all of them are located on escarpments. Why? Because of the wind erosion, and geological structures at these locations are very favorable in forming this kind of things. So that is another thing. So this is not only archaeologically, prehistorically important, but it has a geological importance. If you go to Maligavila, so we have this standing with the statue. So this is marble. So this marble is from the local area. Okay, so local rocks are marble there. So there are big marble bands there. So they have used that marble band. Marble is very easy to do sculpture, but if you go to Samadhi statue, if you go to Galvihara, so they have different rock types. So they have mostly used the local rocks there. So if you go to Galvihara, so we have the migmatic gneiss, hornblende biotite gneiss, and then if you go to Samadhi statue, that is granitic gneiss. So they have used rock types from the area. And look at this one. So this is Kadrugoda in Jaffna. And if you look at these small statues, so this Dagaba stupas, so they are made of limestones. Okay, limestones, and there are corals, beautiful corals. And if you go to Delft, you might have seen that people have used corals to make walls. Here, they have used corals piece of corals to make these stupas. Okay, it is very nice because these corals are mostly have formed about, I did age dating about 6,500 years ago in this area. This area was flooded when the sea level was high, about 2 meters, around 6,500 years, and corals were grown, and they have used these corals to make this stupas. Okay, so you can see how locally people have used different materials to build our religious structures. And Budruvagal, another example. So this is a hornblende biodite nice rocks. And the interesting thing is, marble is easy to work on, but these are difficult. But still, our ancient people have used them very nicely to make these beautiful sculptures. And geotechnical is mainly they are engineering structures sometimes, but they have a geological significance. If you look at our Victoria Dam, so that is another one of the unique place. And so they have selected the narrowest place with deep valley. And so this is, as I told you, that Mahavali River is flowing from west to east and along a fracture. So we have used that. So there's a geological story about it. And if you look at ancient, more of our ancient texts, and you might have noticed that people have used weather-resistant rocks to make the bund, okay, the dam. So last time when I visited this Trinco area, I found that one of the branch of Mahavali River, they have blocked it at different places, and the charnokite rock, that is very weather-resistant rock. So they have used that rock type of rock band to make the dams. Okay. So likewise, quartzite have been used. There are some engineering aspects of our ancient work as well as modern. So these, and there are some large landslides, and so we have stabilized them. So these are geotechnical locations. Okay. And I explain you that I introduced this geotrail concepts. Actually, I call them geo routes earlier. And so we can identify a couple different trails or routes having geologically important features. We can look at, like Australia, we can see a couple of interesting geological locations along that route. Now, for example, if you go to Panama to Wakare, so this is an aerial view I took from an airplane. So you can see that there are many nice beach morphological features there. And if you go to Candid Ranasinghe, so this is our Ranasinghe, and this Rantambe, and this the ancient one is here. So you can see the Victoria is above here. So if you go from Kandy to Ranasinghe, you can see a couple different sites, geotechnical sites. If you go to Balangota to Kaltota, you can see many mineral deposits, quartz, feldspar, marble, and so they are mining. And so if you go to Belihula to Bandaravela, you can see very nice topographic features. And likewise, we can identify a couple different geological trails, geotrails. And if you go to Ginigathena to Muskelia, you can see all the Mahavali, the dams in the powerhouses and dams in our the Vimal Surendra and Muskelia, and so these powerhouses and dams and everything is along this. So these are some of the trails we can use. And now, how can we promote geotourism in Sri Lanka? So that is my biggest question I had. So when I was traveling throughout the world, I realized that we have very small scale locations. So that is the main challenge we have. Now you can imagine, you can understand that a person who want to see geology, pure geological locations, they may not come to Sri Lanka to look at these small places. So there are many in India, many in China, US, and everywhere. So you have magnificent and so beautiful locations. But still, we can attract, we can identify some of the locations and develop as geoparks. Okay, so that is the first thing I think we can do to promote geotourism in Sri Lanka. So all these locations we cannot use because we have, I told you that we have more than 200 locations, but we cannot use all of them. But some of these locations, especially Uppusangala, so that is a very nice, there's a story, and that is a place we can develop as geopark or something like that. Minyagalakanda, definitely, but it is accessibility is a problem. And then Kudiramale, you might have visited Kudiramale in Vilpattu, that is another site. It's very beautiful story, and we can develop that. And then in Jaffna Islands, so if you go to Hatchativ, if you go to Eluative, and so there is a nice, the old coral reef exposed, and so there is a nice geological story there. Sea level has gone up, gone down, and I have worked on them, and we published a paper last month about sea level changes in Sri Lanka from last 120,000. And we can see these islands have formed at different time periods. Some of them have formed during last interglacial, and some of them have formed during Holocene, and so there's a story. So we can develop some of them as geoparks. And so we can identify one or two we can develop as geoparks. So that is one thing. And that is for purely geological process. And so that is that. And then the most important thing is we can promote geotourism as another dimension of our existing tourism. So now people are coming to Sri Lanka to see our ancient the archaeological stuff. And then they are coming to see our beauty. But we can add, as I mentioned previously, we can add the geological aspect to tourism, and that will give a extra value beside this aesthetic value or beside this archaeological value. So that is another thing we can easily do. Okay, so I think we should start from there. Geopark is one thing, other thing is this one. So we can use other thing in Sri Lanka. I have that is one of the lacking part in our tourism industry. We have most of the foreign tourists have guides, so they are telling stories. But these geological stories, we can train them, some of them at least. To do that, we can enroll graduates or some geology graduates or someone to do that or something like that. But beside that, we can definitely use the geological geotourism map, but we can use brochures. We can use signboards. So that is very important thing. So we don't have signboards in Sri Lanka in most of our tourism. Even our archaeological location, there is a signboard saying this archaeological department property, and we don't have any story, anything about that. So that is a lacking part of our tourism industry. That's one. So if you go to other countries, so you can see that. So this is in Canada. This is Sudbury impact. So this is a meteorite impact crater in Canada. So they have mentioned each and every place, how it has formed, when, what happened. So everything is explained very well. So this is in Yellowstone. And all these national parks and most of the countries have used scientific information. So since we don't have this kind of scientific information, general public makes stories, And so some of them are, I have seen that, and some of them are telling stories in the YouTube, some are telling stories in even state media. And so these are not scientific. I'm very frustrated about it when I hear those things, listen to those things, but that is our, that is why, because there is no scientific information disseminating to the general public. If they have that, so the easiest way to do that is putting a scientific information as a signboard. So it is easy. But only thing is, in our country, most of the things we do, but we don't maintain. So after another 5 years, this will be decolorized and maybe broken, and so there is no new one comes up. So that is not what we are doing. So somebody has to maintain it, even local authority or tourist board or somewhere, some authority should take care of these things. So that is a good way to incorporate this geotourist information, geoscientific information to our tourism industry. We can do that. And other thing is these mineral deposits and geotechnical sites, and those things may not be much important for foreign tourists because they might have seen bigger, very nice places. But this is very good for our students, our kids, our university students, and even our general public. So we can develop this, and we can make visitor centers, or if you go to a Pavala, there is a phosphate deposit, and so why don't we have a small visitor center and do that? Okay, so that is the way we have to do it. I think we have Pulmude, big ilmenite deposit, and so that is another one. So we have Victoria. At the Victoria, we can have some kind of signboard or something like that, and so electricity board we can get support. So there is some mechanism to do that. So this is very important thing for our local tourism. Okay, so that's especially for our next generation. And that is another thing. So other thing is, I was thinking, and we can incorporate ecotourism with geotourism. So that is easily we can do that. And we have already established ecotourism industry. And this is another dimension or another aspect for them. Okay, so we can train them, or we can do something with the ecotourism, because in the ecotourism, as I mentioned, so this is biotic and so this is abiotic, and so we can do it. So that is another thing. So those are the things I was thinking, that the things came to my mind how to do that. So that is the main problem we had last time. Even we published the map and we presented it to the tourist board, and so I talked to some of the tourist guide association, but I think nothing went beyond that. Okay, so it didn't happen. So somebody should take the lead and do this. SLTDA or somebody should take the lead and do that. We cannot expect this from local authorities because they don't have scientific knowledge, and also they don't have the will to do that, but the national body should take the lead. But geological survey may not do that. Even they publish it, they have other priorities. And tourism industry, we can get the support of the private sector, hotel industry and things like that. And so we can do that. So so when we are doing this, again, we have a negative thing, we have to take care of this. And most of the important thing is we have to give accurate scientific information. Okay, so that is the number one. And then the site should be maintained. Otherwise, we will initiate as usually, and then after another 5-10 years, they are gone. Okay, so most of the things after big ceremonies and we are starting things, but nothing continues. Okay, so that is a lacking part in Sri Lanka. And then if we can incorporate community, and so that will benefit them, so that they will also support this. And I can remember, as I mentioned, the Mahapalasa. So when I went there, I didn't know that. I wrote a small booklet to the Southern Provincial Council, and I didn't know that they published it. When I went to the Mahapalasa to see the Mahapalasa, And I bought one of my own booklet from a local small the small shop there. Okay, so that means that is good for them because they are getting some money, and so that they are giving some scientific information. So now over visiting is always a problem, so we have to handle that, and so that is another. So those are the things I have to tell you, and we can have a discussion if you have time, and so I'm more than happy to do that. Okay. So, thank you. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So that is okay. She is asking about sustainability, and this is mainly social sustainability and environmental sustainability. So we have to take care of these things when we are developing tourism. I don't know whether promoting geotourism will add a large number of tourists but we are going to open new places to public. So some of these new places are sensitive to environmental sensitive. For example, if you go to Nalaka, so if we can develop a geopark there, and that is another thing we have to consider because over visiting and so those kind of things may be a problem to the environment. We have to think about environmental sustainability. At the same time, if now we have to get the support of the local people to sustainably manage. Okay, so that is another important thing. Now, most of these locations are within close to the villages, and so they can get benefit from that income or something like that. We can get their contribution to manage those. So that is another aspect we can.
May I ask the lecturer? I have a question.
Yeah, can you please?
Where is Maha Palace? What is the location?
Maha Palace is that is you're asking about that Girigal Palace and Maha Palace. So those are in close to Ambilipi.
Is that
Devanagala?
the Madunagala complex?
Yes, north to Maduna. Maha Palace, you're asking about the Madunagala hot springs or serpentine body? Which one?
Hot springs.
That is in Madunagala. Yes, that is close to that Surya between Surya and Ambilipi. You know Madunagala temple? So there is a small ridge there between that ridge close to that. There's a one question here. Any other question?
May I ask a question from the speaker?
Yeah.
Yes. You know, I heard you say that there was, how may I say, a lack of interest on the part of the authorities, even though you spoke to them last time. Now, I joined a little late. So, you know, my apologies for asking this. You don't live in this country, do you?
No.
Yeah, I know. No, wait a minute. No, I'm asking this because maybe it might be worthwhile given what you said, you know, explained about geotourism. One of the ways that it might actually work is if you approach private hospitality operators, of course, they have to be the high-end operators because they are the people who are very willing, and their clients are those who generally tend not to behave like, you know what I mean, right? Like the pictures that you show in Yala. So it might be worthwhile when you're here or you get together with a group of like-minded people and approach the really high-end tourists, tour operators. Of course, they also own hotels in very, very high resort. So that might be one way, because I don't think the, state authorities will be able to. I'm not saying they won't, but it will take a lot longer, and there are other tourism problems they have to address before they think of other things, these things. So that might be one way. Thank you.
Yeah, that is true. So that's why I think, but somebody should take the lead for this. I don't know whether it is the private sector or the government sector. Somebody should take the lead. I think government sector should support this, and so then they can get the support of the private sector. But somebody should take the lead, because most of these locations are under the government authorities, wildlife, and then archaeological, and so forest department and things like that. And so there should be a mechanism to do that. We have to have a dialogue to do this. And so somebody should take the lead. And I think tourist board is the best place to tourist board is the best organization, government entity to initiate it, I think, because then they can get the support of other hotel industry and other.
What to prevent you fixing your annual
they have other priorities. So that's the thing. So they have license issues and so many other things. And so they for this one they have the copyright. So, and the new one I prepared and I gave them, but they didn't do anything still. They are saying that for last 10 years they have been telling that they are doing it, but still. For the last one, for the updated one, I prepared it, but I gave it to Geological Survey, but they don't have, copyright, because they have the copyright for this one. For the new one, still they don't have the copyright. I gave them, I did it voluntarily, but they didn't publish it. They're saying that they're doing that, but I don't know when.
The GSMB has many other issues to resolve before they do this kind of thing, right? So I really don't think they are the people who will take the lead. But I sincerely believe, because also, as you said, if there are areas that are under the Department of Wildlife Conservation, Forest Department, then obviously any tourism has to be negotiated with them, right? And if they are the government, agencies that are in charge. So if somebody takes initiative, like I strongly believe that there are private sector entities that can do this and also talk to the wildlife forest and, do it in a way that will not ruin the whole place within a short period of time. Anyway, since thank you.
Yes, you are very correct. Very true. There's a question here.
No question.
Sorry, thank you, Professor Pradeep. It was a very informational lecture. Just on the geological geotourism map, I was trying to search it online, and you also mentioned there aren't a lot of copies. I was wondering whether there's any version of it available online just to take a peek, or is it something that's not available at all?
It is not available at all, unfortunately. So,
Right.
So geological survey, I gave them a copy and they scanned it. I don't know. I think if someone requests, I think they are making a print out and they give it, I think. Other than that, I don't know how they are doing it right now. They haven't.
Understood. Thank you so much.
So there's one question. Even high-end tourists are also forcing jeep drivers that they are willing to witness leopards in Yala. Poor drivers are helpless in this regard and they are accordingly sad. It is not a question. Any other things? Okay, then thank you very much for attending. And so we should do something. That's the thing. Learn how to do something.
So very big thank you to Professor Ranasinghe. So I think in an hour he took us through 150 million years. Am I right? On the time period. So starting from where Sri Lanka was close to Antarctica and how it migrated up to where it is now. And it was a fascinating story of that migration. Now, when we hear the word tourism, what comes to mind is a white person walking around, many white people walking around, somewhere in the country. But I think local tourism, as you pointed out, we don't know anything about what you said.
Yeah.
So I think there's a huge gap here, and a lot of education needs to happen. So I mean, you have done some brochures. Why don't you write a book on? I mean, maybe a small booklet on the key, key features that we have in this country. I mean, just consider it. And maybe if you like to publish this material, we can put it on our website.
Yeah.
Yes,
This
or
one?
whatever you want to.
But this one has copyright.
Copyright, yeah. The other one maybe.
Next one, if someone can publish it, we can do that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a problem. So who is taking the lead to do this? And so I can help. But the thing is, somebody should take the lead to do that as a country. And
So you mentioned the private sector.
Yeah.
Public sector, I think, is very strongly represented here. Private sector is also represented here very strongly by the godfather of the private sector tourism, that's Mr. Mohideen. So I think we look forward to you taking it forward after. So thank you so much once again, and can I call upon our patron, Dr. Manik Fernando, to hand over a token of appreciation in the form of our history, the history of the Natural History Society.
Thank you.
So with that, we conclude the lecture for today. Thank you everyone who joined in, both in person and on Zoom. Thank you, and we hope to see you at the lectures in the future. Thank you and good night.